Welcome. My name is Gerard Bowens. I'm the Business Outreach Coordinator here for the city under our Office of Equity and Inclusion. I do just want to thank you guys all for coming this morning to our Doing Business with the City 101. I do want to acknowledge some folks in the room. Our Manager of Equity and Inclusion here in the back, Ms. Lakeisha Wade. Our Manager and our Assistant Manager of Purchasing, Keisha and Raven, are here with us as well. We just want to take an opportunity this morning to talk to you a little bit about how to become a vendor or supplier with the City of Frederick. And so this is a good intro to that process. And so we just want to take an opportunity to go through a couple of things with you this morning. So a couple of today's goals. Share information about City of Frederick purchasing and procurement opportunities. So we'll do that a little bit. And then, of course, our purchasing department staff are here to kind of answer some of those questions if you have any of those. Review the city's 2 procurement programs that give competitive opportunities for small, minority, and women-owned businesses, and we'll go through those in detail. And then provide a walkthrough of how to register with the city as a vendor and provide our SBE and MWBE documentation. So we'll go through all of that as well. Procurement opportunities. So there are a lot of procurement opportunities, but they vary, right, in type, in size, in amount. And so depending on the year, the City of Frederick can have anywhere between $20 and $30 million in controllable spending in its budget. We are coming up on the finalizing process for our budget. That's going to happen here in the next couple of months. And after that, as we go into fiscal year 26 at the end of June, all of the department's budgets will be finalized. A lot of the purchases and procurement opportunities that they are hoping to bring forward, they will know whether or not they're able to do that. And you'll start to see a lot of those opportunities come forward after that. So anywhere, depending on the year, that amount varies and fluctuates depending on what's happening with that budget process. So contracting opportunities in our controllable spending include construction. That's a big portion of what we do. We have some big projects that are happening currently. Professional services such as engineering, consulting, graphic design, printing, signage, general services like heating, ventilation and air conditioning, cleaning, maintenance, painting, and off-the-shelf products and services as well. Things we don't typically procure, and I'm going to say this, but kind of with a caveat, right, that's not always true. We tend to shy away from absolutes here. And if you're just joining us, please help yourself. We've got donuts and coffee. Come on in and take a seat. So IT, information technology. So we do have in-house a very robust IT department. Now that doesn't mean we never procure IT services. It just means that we do have the capability to provide most of those services in-house. Now IT does procure out for certain things, products, certain services, software, and things like that. And so it's not that we never buy IT services, it's just that those opportunities may be a bit limited because we, again, do have a very robust in-house IT department. Communication services, so things like social media management or marketing, those things are limited a little bit because we do have a very large and wonderful communications and video production staff here at the City of Frederick. So big shout out to Lance, who's back there running the camera for us as we speak. So we do have a very, again, robust in-house comms department that handles the majority of those services for the city. So I can't say, again, that those opportunities never come up, but it's rare that they do because of the folks that we have on staff. Retail and restaurants, again, from time to time, we may come out into the community and purchase certain retail items, certain restaurant or catering opportunities. Of course, we bought Dunkin' Donuts this morning, so those are smaller dollar purchases. Again, we can't say that they never happen, but it is rare for them to happen on a larger scale. I want to welcome Richard Griffin, our Director of Economic Development, is here with us as well, and Karen Calancis from the Maryland Women's Business Center has joined us as well. So thank you guys for being here. So again, those are some of the items that we don't always procure, but again, I hate to say the word never. Just just a little sample of some of the items procured even just last week. Uniforms, lumber, lawn maintenance, electrical supplies. We hired a consulting firm to help us with some stuff. HVAC, we seem to almost always need some HVAC services around here. Auto parts, we do have a very large fleet of city vehicles, including our police department vehicles, our DPW vehicles, And so those are always in need of parts and equipment. So equipment rentals, golf retail items. Of course, you know, the city does manage and operate its own golf course here, Cluster Spires Golf Course. So there is often equipment and supplies necessary to conduct that business. Plumbing, home repair, appliances, staff training opportunities. So there's a wide variety of services and products that the city does procure. And I'm going to pause real quick because we did, with the help of our productions team, shoot a video to tell you a little bit more about what Frederick buys. And so I'm going to let Lance bring in that video opportunity. He's back there, got that queued up for us. And so take a look. This was filmed and shot by one of our former colleagues. No sound, Lance. Bring in my sound.
Ever wondered where the pulse of urban innovation thrives and where opportunities to shape the future abound? Join us as we uncover the possibilities of partnership with the City of Frederick. My name is Gerard Bowens, and I'm the Business Outreach Coordinator here at the City. I help businesses connect with our city government and become vendors and partners in our procurement efforts. What does Frederick buy, you ask? As we operate our various departments, maintain our city properties, and provide services for our residents, we purchase everything from construction and trade services to office supplies, uniforms, vehicles, specialty products, and more.
So not only do we carry and warehouse, but we help to draw out plans and determine materials lists, help procure and help manage through projects. We were able to help supply the waterworks divisions to be ready for that next water main break or next repair.
Throughout all the different administrations, they've helped support us by simply using our business and catering the different events that are needed that they need catering for.
We have been incredibly fortunate to have done some fantastic projects with the City of Frederick. We've done work at the City Hall, the Tally Recreation Center, and are currently working on a project to relocate the city's police headquarters.
Our business is really doing everything that has to do with shirts, embroidery, screen printing, all type of digital processes. We also provide services like advertising specialties.
So the services that we provide are varied. So we can do anything from branding to PR, websites, social media. We work with the Department of Economic Development, the Weinberg Center over the years.
In fact, we spend on average of about $20 to $30 million a year to keep the city humming along and working like a well-oiled machine. That represents a huge opportunity for local businesses to get involved and become one of our trusted vendors. We really value the partnerships we create with local companies who we trust to provide products and services that help us keep Frederick at the highest level of livability and sustainability for our residents. Just visit our website at frederickmd.gov/Frederick Buys and follow the prompts to register as a vendor today.
Well, it's important for us to provide services to anybody who could need our services.
It's a wonderful way to give back to the community. We really enjoy being able to work with the local government and work on projects that are impacting the citizens here.
Being engaged with the business community and the City of Frederick is very important because it brings a quality of life to our employees.
So when serving the community, it's important that we're able to respond because you can have thousands of people without water and we're able to help keep things flowing. So we're happy to be here. It's been a great partnership.
Providing services to the City of Frederick, it's essentially paying it forward. This is a town that has supported small business and tried to help everybody who really wants to fulfill their dream of owning their own business. And so being in the city, it's just kind of a natural thing to do. Pay it forward to the city and they pay it back to us.
Remember, when Frederick buys, Frederick thrives.
right. So again, that video was shot through our wonderful communications team here, and so thank you again to all of them. We're going to bring it back to the slides now, and again, that was just kind of a wrap-up of some of the things that Frederick does buy, and like any client or customer, the city does purchase products and services all the time. We good? All right. Lance. All right. So he's going to pull the next slide up, but the next slide is going to talk about the purchasing amount. So when we do purchase, those purchases are broken up into essentially 3 buckets, is the best way to kind of think about it. Under 10,000, these are what we call small dollar opportunities. I didn't make that name up, by the way, but but it does represent those smaller opportunities that are made at the purchasing discretion of the interested department. So again, all of our various departments make products purchases all the time, and under that $10,000 mark, they are basically made at the discretion of the purchasing manager, whoever's making that purchase. So they can reach out into the community, deal directly with the vendor, and make that purchase. So part of what we try to do is put as many vendors into our database as possible so that our city staff have a wide variety of choices. Now, the governing philosophy is that we reach out and try to do business locally. We try to do business with small and diverse companies as much as we possibly can. But under 10,000, there are no programs or guidelines directly outside of our general procurement policies that stipulate what those purchases have to be. Now, between $10,000 and $50,000, services or products sought within this price range require departments to follow competitive pricing policies and obtain at least 3 written quotes prior to contract. So we'll get into that a little bit more when I go over our Small Business Reserve program, because that's really what governs that. But again, when those purchases are made between the $10,000 and $50,000 range, what we're looking for from that purchasing manager or the department purchasing is 3 quotes from small businesses in the community, right? And then they'll follow standard procurement protocol to determine the best quote moving forward between those 3, but that's what we require. Over 50,000, services or products sought over this mark are required to go through a formal solicitation process, and we'll talk a lot more about how to register and access that procurement portal. So these opportunities are placed online in that portal, and there's some variability in length between how long the opportunity is posted, but typically they remain open for about a month. Sir? Per transaction, yep, per transaction, absolutely. And so again, we're gonna go in detail on our procurement portal. I'm gonna show you how to access that. I'm gonna show you how to register for that. Some of you I know are already in that procurement portal, so you may have seen this before, but any purchase over that amount will come out in the form of a formal solicitation, an RFP or an IFB, and you'll be able to submit a bid. Yes? No, so those don't go out to formal solicitation. They won't be listed in that portal. So again, that's why the database I'm going to talk about a little bit is so important. So even though you won't see these opportunities in that portal, I use the database when you register to help city staff make those choices. So quite frequently, city staff reach out directly to me and ask me, hey, I need 3 quotes. I'm getting ready to make this purchase. I only have 1 vendor in mind. Can you help me find the other 2? And so I pull a list from that database and send that out to them. And so that's why it's important to be both in that procurement portal database and the separate database that I track independently, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So being here today, being top of mind, being in these databases helps you get in front of more of those opportunities. First program is our Small Business Reserve program. So in 2020, we did a disparity study here in the city of Frederick, and based on the results of that disparity study, our city council, then Board of Aldermen, enacted legislation to create 2 programs in order to encourage more procurement opportunities and participation from small, minority, and women-owned businesses, right? One of those is our Small Business Reserve program, right? This is a program aimed directly at supporting small business and inviting small business to be involved in our procurement efforts. The intention is to increase opportunities for small business enterprises. We condense that down to SBEs. So this whole thing is just an alphabet soup of acronyms. And SBE stands for Small Business Enterprises. That is probably all of you. To perform as prime contractors and suppliers on city projects and contracts, helping to grow capacity and gain valuable experience. So that's the goal of the program. This applies to all procurements over 10,000 that do not involve subcontracting. So if the opportunity involves subcontracting, that's going to fall under our MWBE program, which we'll talk about in a second. So if it is a construction project or a larger project that has subcontracting opportunities, it will not be part of our small business reserve, and it will be evaluated for inclusion in our MWBE program. So all awards are available to small businesses that meet the size standards set forth by the Small Business Administration. So the U.S. Department of Small Business Administration sets a size standards table. Is that done every year? Done every couple of years, I believe. If interested, I can send you the latest version of that. You can Google that very easily and find that size standards table. And what you do is find the industry that you're in. You do that with a code called a NAICS code. It's the North American Industry Classification System, right? And so, I know, see, all these acronyms. If you know your NAICS code or what your industry code is, you can find that on that size table, and it will tell you either by annual revenue or number of employees whether or not you meet the threshold for a small business, right? And so if you find your NAICS code and it says you have to have less than 500 employees and you have 10 employees, guess what? You're a small business, right? If it says that you have to meet an annual revenue threshold of below $45 million and you make $10 million a year, congratulations, you're a small business, right? The bidding SBE must self-perform a significant percentage of the contracted work. So again, this goes back to whether or not there are subcontracting opportunities. So that's kind of the dividing line between these two programs. If you're going to do the majority of the work or provide the majority of the services, then you would be considered the prime contractor, and then you would be self-performing, and then it would fall under our small business reserve program, right? And so again, as long as you meet those size standards, you can either be certified by a separate entity as a small business, or you can self-certify and tell me that you know you're a small business based on what I just told you. We'll get into that here in a second. So again, these purchases are reserved specifically for our SBEs. Any certified SBE can be eligible to participate. In order to qualify, a certified SBE must submit one of the following. So this is what we were just talking about. Either evidence on a form prescribed by the purchasing department, affirming under penalty of perjury that the business qualifies as an SBE, our self-certification letter. So that's typically the way this is done, right? So a lot of small businesses that we work with aren't already certified by another agency, and so if you're not, that's not a problem. You can self-certify. We have a letter that we'll send you, and it simply says, I swear that I have reviewed my NAICS code, and I meet the eligibility standard, and I know I'm a small business, right? So I always love the under penalty of perjury. It's real serious. A letter or other documentation from the U.S. Small Business Administration that establishes that the firm qualifies as an 8A or hub zone firm. Anybody familiar with 8A hub zone through the SBA? So if you're already certified as a small business through 8A or hub zone, perfect. Don't have to sign the self-certification letter. All you have to do is send me that proof of 8A hub zone certification, and I enter it into our database, and congratulations, you are a certified small business. A letter or other documentation from the state of Maryland or U.S. Department of Transportation that establishes that you are an SBE. So if you're MDOT certified, if you're US.DOT certified, and quite honestly, we accept a wide variety of what we call reciprocal certifications. So if you are certified by WBENC, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, Virginia has their SWAM program. Many other municipalities in the regional area do certification. We do not. We do not certify here in the city, and we do not certify here in the county, but we do accept certification from a wide variety of folks in the region. So if you do have a certification, send it to me. There is a high likelihood that we accept that certification. So whichever way you certify, once you are certified, you have access to that program. And again, it's all of those opportunities over 10,000. Between 10 and 50,000, direct contact with the purchasing manager or city staff. to become one of those 3 quotes that I require. So I require 3 quotes from small businesses, one of which has to be a minority or women-owned enterprise as well. So 3 quotes, and then that purchasing manager or city staff member will choose the appropriate quote based on other factors like price and those kind of things. So, but what I require is those 3 quotes to move forward. I am constantly checking for those 3 quotes. Our senior purchaser, Chuck, will bounce those purchase requests back if we do not have those 3 quotes. And so it's a very effective program and one that we are constantly revising and ensuring has the highest level of success and efficacy for our city staff and for the community. So that's a great way to get involved as a small business owner. The next opportunity I want to talk about is our Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise, or MWBE program. The intention of the MWBE program is to increase minority and women-owned business participation in city procurement. How do we do that? Well, we set goals, and we set goals on projects or opportunities or contracts that have subcontracting opportunities. We have a set of annual aspirational goals. Those are just benchmarks that we help guide us in measuring overall MWBE participation over the year. And so if we do not set contract by contract goals, which does happen sometimes if we're not able to correctly identify or calculate specific participation goals for a project, we may open it up to just our annual aspirational goals. Those are not assigned goals. Those do not get mandated to the prime contractor. They're just goals that help us to determine how much participation we may have on that project. We just had a project go through where the prime contractor, we did not set contract goals on the project, so there's no formal set goals, but the prime contractor did submit a participation plan that included MWBE subcontractors, so we count that participation to our overall annual aspirational goals. Most of the time, however, we do set contract by contract goals, and so we have a calculation method that we use to look out into the community and measure the availability of MWBEs in the regional area. And any projects that involve subcontracting, that goal will be set based on the scope of work and availability of subcontractors in that industry or scope of work. Bidders must meet the contract goal or provide proof of significant good faith efforts to meet that goal. So when you bid, let's say there's a construction project that pops up in our procurement portal, and you're a general contractor and you want to bid on that work. In that, there's an MWBE participation plan. So you have to spell out how you plan to meet the MWBE goals. And typically we set one for women-owned business participation and minority-owned business participation as separate goals. So you have to show me that you have a plan to meet those goals. And if not, you have to show me that you made good faith efforts to contact and secure as many MWBEs as possible. Things that count as good faith efforts are attending minority and women-owned business outreach events, like the Empower Her event that we just went to, some of our other minority-owned outreach events throughout the city and throughout the region, putting out those emails, contacting all of those subcontractors. If you can show me an email list of folks that you emailed this opportunity to, if you can show me phone records of people that you called, if you can show me your procurement portal or your website where you advertise this opportunity to the right folks and got this opportunity out, I consider those good faith efforts. If you made a good faith effort to reach out and find the MWBEs to participate and you were not able to secure them, you can request a waiver from those goals. But again, we do a great deal of due diligence to ensure that you have met those good faith efforts before we ever consider signing that waiver. So be sure to be as detailed as possible. Subcontractor usage, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, so even if you are an MWBE and you are a prime, your participation does count towards those goals, but you are also then on the hook to meet those participation goals as well because you are acting as the prime contractor on that project. Subcontractor usage will become a material part of the contract and be monitored by city staff. I do all of the tracking for that. So every month when you submit your pay request to pay your subcontractors and to pull those funds from the city, we review in detail your MWBE participation. We review all of the subcontractor data. It all gets filed and tracked before we are able to sign off and before my supervisor will sign off on that pay request. So be sure to constantly and continually keep that tracking updated. If there's any changes to that subcontractor usage, all of that needs to be approved and tracked by our office. And yeah, all of that is done in-house. Sir? Absolutely. So that is definitely something. So what he asked was, if you are unable to find an MWBE, do we assist you in doing that? That is a big part of my job. So helping both our vendors and our city staff look out into the community and find those subcontractors and those suppliers is a big part of what I do. So absolutely, if you're looking for a sub in a particular area, give me a call. I have a running database. I have databases that are separated out by those NAICS codes. I know how to pull an MDOT search history. I know how to pull registries from various databases throughout the region and throughout the country. And so I can definitely look out into the community and help you find subcontractors and vendors to communicate with to help you meet those goals. So that is a big part of what I do. I'm fully invested in making sure that we hit those goals on all of our projects and using all of our means within this office to do that. So great question. Certification. So unlike the Small Business Reserve Program, in order for the subcontractor award amounts to count towards those participation goals, those contractors, those subcontractors have to be certified by an entity, right? And so you can't just come in and say, I'm self-certified, I'm a minority or woman-owned business, I promise. It doesn't work like that for this particular program, right? Sir. That depends. What he asked was, would a husband and wife team qualify as co-owners? So it really depends on the amount of ownership between the partners, and all of that is what's decided in these review processes. So you'll see up here, certification, the main certification agency here in Maryland, our official certification agency is the Maryland Department of Transportation. They have an Office of Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Business Enterprises, and they are official certification entity for the state. There's a number of other certification agencies. This process is lengthy. You can ask Ms. Santana here. She has guided many companies through, many local companies. She provides some certification assistance locally, and she can tell you a little bit more about that. It is a long process, and it can be very detailed, and it can be a little frustrating. The main purpose of this, and this isn't something I understood until I got a little bit deeper into the work here. At first, I wondered why this process is so long. And now there are some inefficiencies and some things that some folks are working on to make that process a little more efficient and a little faster. But the main reason it is so detailed is because we are trying to prevent fraud, right? That is the biggest reason. There are a lot of dollars that are set aside and put in reserve for minority and women-owned subcontractors. And there are, unfortunately, large corporations and large contractors who will stand up companies that are not actually independent minority-owned companies in order to pass through and access those dollars. And so the point of these investigations, you're going to have to provide your full financial history. There's going to be an interview process, and the reason for that is to ensure that you are in fact the owner, that you in fact control the company, and that those dollars did not come from someone who's trying to use you to access those set-aside funds. And that's the reason why that process is so detailed. So, however, there is a lot of help. There are a lot of folks out there that will help you, including MDOT themselves. In fact, if you scan that QR code there, if you're interested in becoming certified, there is a certification assistance webinar. The next one is on April 1st at 10 a.m. They do host those monthly, I believe. And the folks at the MDOT office are extremely helpful and responsive. Heather and Eon, I have met both of them and worked extensively with their office. They are very helpful. They are very responsive. In fact, most of the time they tell me that when applications get held up, it's because they have sent something back for you to provide and it takes you too long to respond, right? And so the quicker you are able to get them what they need and answer those questions, the faster your application will go. So they can talk to you a lot more about how to get through that certification process and what it entails, and they'll answer that question for you. So I can't give you a direct answer. It really depends on how much ownership the husband versus the wife controls, where the money came from, and some of those other factors, and they will determine that through the course of their review. So again, anybody, do you need me to go back to that QR code real quick? Anybody? Got it? I'll pull it up at the end if you need. Yes. Yes. Nope, this is our Frederick vendor registration. So that's what we'll go into next. So those are our two procurement-based programs, so SBR and MWBE. If you have any questions on those, I'm always available to answer those. You're doing business with the City Resource Guide. Hopefully you picked one of those up. If not, it's available over there in both English and Spanish. And it goes over, again, everything that I pretty much just covered. And also my card is over there, so if you have any questions at all at any time, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm happy to answer. The next part, and the most fun part, is vendor registration, right? So this is how we get started. This is how we make sure that you're in that vendor registration system and that we can get you in front of those opportunities as quickly as possible. Now, one thing I'll say, here in the city of Frederick, we operate within Frederick County. A lot of people get the two confused constantly. So we are here simply today to talk about the opportunities at the city level, right? And so our vendor registration system is only going to show you opportunities and purchases that the city has available. So if it's outside the city, if it's something that Frederick County is doing, you'll also have to visit their website and go through their procurement process and their vendor registration as well if you want to see opportunities in the county. I'll say this, if you are interested in government contracting, it is a daunting process, but it is one that is very rewarding if you're willing to take the steps. I often tell people there are so many municipalities throughout the state. If you register at the state level, the federal level, each county has procurement opportunities, each city has procurement opportunities, and most of them have very similar programs to the ones that we have. So it's worth your time to bounce around, check out all of the websites, register in as many of those procurement portals as you can so that you can see all of the opportunities, especially if you have the capacity to work anywhere in the state, right? And don't forget, we are so close to the Virginia state line and the Pennsylvania state line as well, DC as well. And so there's procurement opportunities in all of those areas as well. So it's worth it to look out. We are just one database of very many that have these opportunities. So how to get started in our vendor registration system, cityoffrederickmd.gov will take you right to our homepage. You'll click on that business services tab right there. There are also QR codes and links in that doing business with the City Resource Guide. QR codes will take you right where you need to go so you can scan those. But if you're doing it the old-fashioned way and clicking through, you're going to click on business services. That drop down will come up. You'll click on doing business with the city. That's going to take you to our Doing Business with the City page, and literally all of the information that I just shared with you is somewhere on this page, right, in one of the tabs that we shared. So you can learn about small, minority, and women-owned business opportunities, or you can click on vendor registration, which is that top link right there. That's going to take you to our vendor registration portal, new vendor registration, and that's going to bring up this tab. So however you get there, and I'll back out in a minute and I'll show you guys the first page for our IonWave procurement portal. So I'll show you that in a minute when we go through these slides. But however you get there, once you click on here, these are the steps to go through and actually register your company, right? So this is very important. You're going to put in your company name, your phone number. If you have a SAM.gov or a unique entity ID, if you're familiar with that and you have one, great. How many people know SAM.gov? Fantastic, so I don't need to explain that. If you have that ID, go ahead and type that in. If you don't, no need to worry about it. You don't have to scramble to go do that in order to finish our vendor registration, right? So don't feel like you need to go searching for that or all of a sudden sign up for SAM to get that number in order to proceed, all right? So if you don't have that, it's not necessary. If you have one, put it in. Your DUNS number, anybody know DUNS? DUNS and Bradstreet? Fantastic, look at you guys, man. I'll let you guys teach the class. So if you have that number, go ahead and put that in. If not, again, it is not necessary to proceed in this procurement portal. Very easy first step. So put that information in. It's going to bring you to our terms and conditions. Feel free to read those terms and conditions, print them off if you like, and accept those terms and conditions. At that point, I think it's at that point that it kicks you out and makes you sign back in, right? I think it makes you create a unique user ID. So I believe between the terms and conditions slide and this slide, it will prompt you to create a user ID and a password at that point. And then it'll kick you out and you'll log back in. That's how you kind of create your login, right? Everyone's familiar with that process. Make your password something that only you know, that you can access, and that you can remember. So once you come back in, this is more unique and detailed company information, your trade name, if it's different than your legal name, your organization type, your formation start date. Again, it's just gonna ask you for a company description, some keywords. Those keywords are important to help us on the other side of the database find your company. So those keywords will help guide us as far as what services you provide. Verifying your company email. Your recovery email should be a separate email than your work email, than the main one that you're gonna check on your work email, a personal email, a backup, another colleague that may have access, something that in case you get locked out, we have another email that we can send a password reset to. User information, so you can set up as many users as I believe you like for your company, but this will be the first user, which is you. So create that user, put in all the information there, verify your email address. If you are already in our database and you are not receiving communications, call me, let me know, we'll take a look. Sometimes what happens, what I've discovered, is that someone set up your user profile a long time ago and they no longer work for your company. That's happened quite frequently. And so we want to make sure this primary user is someone who's always going to be around and someone who's going to be checking that email inbox for those procurement opportunities, right? Because that's how we're going to send it to you. And so if you registered a long time ago and you're like, wait, man, I don't receive any communications, it's probably because it's going to an email inbox that nobody's paying attention to. That's the, sir. Uh-huh. It is public information. I believe you can you search that on the vendor side? Yep, so he asked if that database can be made public. Okay, we can look into that. Typically how that works is if you need a vendor database, if you need a list for a specific purpose, like if you're trying to find a specific subcontractor, I can pull that for you. The entire database is quite large, and so we don't typically export that as a file. It's not listed anywhere, but if you need access to a specific list by industry or something like that, then we can. Let's follow up, and I can answer that a little bit more for you. But for the most part, mostly what I'm doing is pulling smaller subsets of that list to help you with specific searches. And so company information, you're going to continue to fill all of that out. Put in your addresses. If you have, you can add an address if you have a main address, and then a shipping address or a P.O. box that you want to use or anything like that. You can pull all of that information in there. And then we're going to get into creating a W-9. So you don't have to upload your W-9. You fill this out and it will create a W-9 for you. Everybody familiar with your W-9? Fantastic. So filling this out will help you create that W-9. This is probably the most important tab on this vendor registration system. So these are the commodity codes. Now they're very similar to the NAICS codes that we just talked about. They are a little bit different in here. You're going to go through all of these boxes and you can see that you click here and it drops down. Review all of these and only click the ones for the services and products that you can provide. Say that because then your email, the way that we do this is our procurements come up in that portal. Our wonderful purchasing team identifies the scopes of work in each of those solicitations, and they code them appropriately to match the commodity codes. And that's how we know who to send that opportunity to, right? If you sell cupcakes, we're not going to send you an RFP for engineering and construction services, right? Because that's not going to be of interest to you. These commodity codes are how we match you with the right opportunities and how we know which RFPs and IFBs to send you for you to look at. So this is very important. A lot of our vendors just go through and click all the commodity codes they can because they want to see the most opportunities. That's counterproductive. And the reason it's counterproductive is because then you're going to get every single email that we ever send out, And ultimately, you're going to get tired of reviewing all the ones that don't apply to you, and you're going to stop looking at them. And then you're going to miss the one that actually pertains to what you do. So my advice is to be very clear and precise on what commodity codes you check so that you can only see the opportunities that you are ready to put together a proposal on. It also helps us on the other side when I am pulling that vendor database, when I'm telling city staff, these are the companies that provide this specific product or service, that you actually, in fact, do provide that specific product or service, and you don't get someone from the city calling you to ask you about something you can't do. Sir? Absolutely, yes. His question was, can you go back and update this? So this is a living profile. You can update this as your information changes. I suggest reviewing this often. I suggest making this something that you come back and review, at least on an annual basis. Again, updating those email addresses, making sure someone who's active in your office, who's involved in that opportunities review is getting those emails, and making sure that you're updating those commodity codes frequently. If you change, if you start to offer a new service, or if you no longer offer a service, go in and review this, right? So this is the key. This is how you know that what you're seeing in your inbox is going to match what you can do, and you can get ready to submit that proposal, all right? So commodity codes. Your special classifications. So this is how we identify whether or not you fall into one of our special classifications. We do have some local preferences for city, state, and county. Are we still using all three of those? Not county. So city and state. Local preference is important because on some of those bids, we do have a local preference policy. And so that local preference policy does lower not the amount, so when you're comparing those bids side to side, let's say we're scoring a proposal between 3 companies. 2 of them are out of state. You are right here in Frederick, right? You are going to get 10% of that bid total. It's going to look on paper as though you're 10% lower than the competition. It doesn't actually affect the paid contract amount. It doesn't mean you're saying I'll do it for less money. It just means on paper when we compare those bids, you have a slight competitive advantage in that it's 10% up to 100,000. So 10% up to 100,000. So glad you guys are here. And so be sure to check that. It's going to ask you for supporting documentation. So for supporting documentation for those local preferences, that can be a utility bill, that can be a copy of the deed, it can be a copy of your lease agreement, anything that establishes that business address as being in the city or in the state. Our MWBEs, so all of these MWBE, DBE classifications, if you check one of these off, you can submit any of the documentation that we talked about. If you're certified by another entity, so you can upload your MDOT certification if you're certified by some other entity. If not, you can upload the vendor information form that I'll talk to you about in a minute. So I'm going to send you, once you register, a vendor information form that will say, you'll check off the box and say, hey, I'm a minority-owned business, but I'm not certified, right? And so we put that classification in there, but we do tag it with the fact that you are not certified. So we'll show that. If you're a small business, that self-certification letter, that serves as proof of documentation. So you can upload that, or you can check it and indicate, let me know, and I can go in on the back end and add that documentation in. So, because all of these, when you check them, it will ask you to upload a supporting document. So you just want to upload something that supports the claim that you're making. All right. And again, that's how we sort and search on the back end in our vendor database. So we have the capacity to search by those classifications. We can search for only small businesses. We can search for minority-owned businesses. We can search for businesses in the city and the state. So we can sort by all of those special classifications as well. It's going to ask you to review everything. So you'll go back through as a final step here is to perform a review, make sure all of your information is accurate and correct. Again, checking all those commodity codes to make sure they represent what you want. And then that's it, right? So you'll complete the registration process. If you have any questions while you're in that registration process, reach out to me or reach out directly to Raven and Keisha in the purchasing department. Raven is our Ion Wave guru, so she's helped me many a times, help vendors get through that process. Karen. Does it save? I think it saves. Yeah. I think once you get past the point of that creating the username and login, anytime you exit out, you just log back in and pick up right where you left off. So this is the vendor information form I was talking about. So this is that next step. So we're going to put you in our procurement portal and our vendor registration database, right? That's the official formal database that will help you access all of those formal solicitations. It also helps city staff find you. But I also track you in a separate database within our Office of Equity and Inclusion to track small minority and business-owned participation separately. This database is helpful because it's a smaller list than our huge vendor database, and it helps me kind of zero in on you as a company, right? And it's probably one of the first places I go to when city staff ask me for those individual databases or when they need those 3 quotes. So once you are registered, I will send you this form, and this will qualify you for our programs. I like to say qualify because, again, we don't certify you here in the city for anything, right? We don't actually certify you other than the self-certification letter, which is you certifying yourself. So essentially what we do is review and make sure that you qualify for the 2 programs that I mentioned. So you'll check off and you'll see it'll ask you your small business status. Did you self-certify? Are you certified by MDOT? Are you certified by the U.S. Small Business Administration through 8A or HubZone? Are you certified by US DOT? Or are you not a small business? That's okay too. You can check that off. I do request that you fill this out in full. I get a lot of these back and people have just skipped them. It's like, well, I'm not a small business. There's a box for that for a reason, right? So it's okay if you're not a small business. I just need to know, and I need you to check the box accordingly. Same thing for your MWBE status. That's the next box here. Are you a certified MWBE, meaning that you have certification through one of the entities we talked about? Are you an MWBE whose certification is pending, meaning you've applied for certification and you haven't completed that process, but your application is pending? That's okay too. Are you an MWBE, but you're not certified? So you're minority and women-owned, but you have not started that certification process. We need to know that too. Or are you not an MWBE? That's okay too. Again, we just need to know. So I need you to fill that part out and actually check that box so I don't have to guess or Google your company or go on a hunt to try and figure out what your status is, right? So it's important that we know because we do, again, track and classify all of this data. If you are certified, provide us with the MWBE certification agency, whether that's MDOT, WeBank, City of Baltimore, Virginia SWAM, any of those other certification agencies I mentioned. If it's not listed there, check the box for other and write it in. And then that MWBE designation, are you female owned? Are you American Indian owned, African American owned? I need my glasses. Very small. You know? I know. This will make more sense when I actually email this to you, right? So you'll be able to see. But again, all of those certification designations, if there's more than one, check as many as apply. And then you'll just print and sign, right? So this over here is essentially that self-certification form that I mentioned. It's just a letter that essentially says, I certify that our business, based on the SBA size standards, meet the criteria to be a small business. Under the penalty of perjury, I swear that we are a small business. Sign that, send it in. Guess what? Now you're a certified small business, right? Sounds good? So again, I will send that to you. We track that. It's an annual requalification, so when you send it to me, I'll enter you into that separate database. And every year you'll get a reminder that you need to refill out that form. And the reason we do that is largely because your status may have changed, right? You may now be certified where you were once pending. Now you have your MDOT certification. We want to update that and have that reflected. Yes? So her question was, do we value the self-certification equally to the other certifications? For the purposes of our small business reserve, yes. So to us, it doesn't matter. Small business reserve, when I'm asking city staff for 3 quotes from certified small businesses, it doesn't matter to me whether you're certified by MDOT or whether you did a self-certification letter. Where it pertains to our MWBE program and meeting those contract-specific goals for MWBE participation, again, that's where the self-certification does not apply. You have to be certified by one of those other entities, right? So yes. Where it pertains to our small business reserve, doesn't matter to me if whether you're self-certified or you're certified by someone else. It's all the same. Yeah. So again, Our vendors mean business. It is incredibly valuable to your business to be able to access a new market, tap into these long-term contracts and sustainability, collaborate and access networking opportunities, scale and grow your business. A lot of our programs and opportunities are designed to help you grow the capacity of your business. Social impact and public service. So you're providing, essentially, when you provide services and products to the city, you are in effect providing a public service. You can download the resource guide on the website, or again, we have many, many copies of them here in print, so please make sure you take that. Our next opportunity, so there's a couple opportunities coming up. One is that MDOT certification assistance webinar. So if you want me to I'll go back and pull that slide up if you're interested with the QR code to register for that. If you want to know more about certification. Our next event here, it will take place right here, just like we're doing right now, is on insurance and bid bonding on city projects. So a lot of our vendors have questions about the insurance requirements and the bid bonding requirements for some of our city projects. And we're going to try to answer those questions the best we can. So we're going to work with both our risk management and compliance office and our purchasing department to offer some content related to insurance requirements, exemptions on some of those, why those requirements exist, how to access those, how to navigate that, and our bid bonding process as well. So you can register for that. That QR code's also over there on the table, so you can scan that QR code to register for that next seminar. It will be right back here on April 16th, just like we're doing here today. So I invite you all to come to that if you would like. I will email you soon, because there's also a veteran-owned small business certification and small business seminar being put on by the Governor's Office of Small Business Administration. That's going to happen, I believe, on March 16th. I just got word of this yesterday and was invited to speak at that event. And so they are working on the flyer. As soon as they give me the flyer with the registration details, I will email that to all of you as well. So be on the lookout for that. I believe that's going to be held at Monocacy, Goodwill Industries in Monocacy Valley out on Monocacy Road. So I believe that's where they're going to host that. So that's a state agency, the Governor's Office of Small Business Administration, is going to host that seminar as well. So be on the lookout for that. And again, just some great opportunities to come and learn a little bit more about the world of local government procurement. Any questions? Remember, when Frederick buys, Frederick thrives. They pay me more every time I say that. That's not true. Thank you guys all for being here this afternoon, this morning rather. Thank you. Again, our main goal is to walk you through this process and get you involved in what we're doing. So if at any point you have questions or you need help, that's pretty much what I'm here to do. You can pick up the phone and call at any point, and call my office line, my cell phone, email me at any time, no matter what it is. If I don't know the answer to that question, I will reach out and try to find the answer. So that's my big job, is to try and help navigate you through this process and get you in front of these opportunities. So becoming a vendor with the City of Frederick's not a magic button. We're not going to register as a vendor and all of a sudden your business is going to triple in size. That's not the way it works. Just know that going in, right, that these opportunities are there. I'm going to send you guys all a link to our forecasting page so you can see. I try to keep the forecasting page as up to date as possible so you can see what's coming down the pipe. But again, those opportunities vary in size and what they are. So, it's not always going to be a good fit, but I always tell people it's better to be in the system and ready for those opportunities when they come than to not know about them at all. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Please, we have coffee and donuts available. Take a Doing Business with the City packet. Register for our next Spring Learning Series. And thank you for coming today.